Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another episode of Quran Lessons for the Infidel. Before we begin this time around, Talal said he had something to say for a minute. Talal, go ahead.
Yes. As a follow-up, there's 2 points we mentioned in the last session. They refer to the purgatory as well as the children. Where do they go? I can confirm and give you some reference. The first point to confirm that there is purgatory in Islam, the general consensus is the torture in the grave straight after death till doomsday. And in case of lost or disintegrated bodies, then the torture will apply to the souls. This is supported by Muhammad Hadith and a couple of Quranic verses. Example of the Hadith is Sahih Bukhari, Hadith 1361, narrated Ibn Abbas. The Prophet once passed by 2 graves and then he put a green leaf of date or the date palm, saying, I hope that their punishment may be eased until the leaves become dry. And there are 2 verses from the Quran, verse 46, chapter 40, that says, the fire that they are exposed to in the morning and evening and on the days of the hour, till the days of the hour takes place. The other verse is verse 101, chapter 9, that says, we will punish them twice, then we will be returned, they will be returned to the severe suffering that is in the doomsday. So they will be suffering before they get to the doomsday. The second point is about where the children goes if they die. All the children, the general consensus, all the children goes to heaven, according to Al-Bukhari, Hadith 7047. It says that the Prophet Muhammad says that he saw in his dream Ibrahim in heaven with all children that passed away. And that goes for the general, the infidel children as well. Thank you.
That raises some interesting points for so many reasons. First of all, you're going to relieve the suffering for as long as it takes leaves to rot. So children who are being eternally punished get a reprieve for like a single day, and then they're back to their eternal punishment. Well, that was very kind of you.
No, I don't think children get punished.
No, I don't think the children get punished. Yeah.
Well, it says that children get punished right away.
No.
I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of child, because in Islam, I think it's if you're above 14, you stop counting as a child.
If you're a guy, a girl have to be an 8.
Oh.
They're talking about the wet dream. Anything up to wet dream, by the way, regard as children.
Well, they say in Islam, women have to wear hijab and tukallaf shar'an. I don't know what the fuck that means in English. Tukallaf shar'an. The women, the girls, when they are 8, and the boys when are 12 or 13.
تكلف شرعا would roughly translate to they have to take up the Sharia
legally
law.
It's like a legal. Okay, it's I don't know in Islam. Boogie, help us.
I will tell you. Let me elaborate on this quickly. There is nothing clear verse says by 8. That's what these colors come to. That is just a. Hold a second. I'll come to that. Yeah. You're not even the hijab in Islam. There is a big debate about it. There's nothing so clear about it. You're talking about commitment of the hijab. That not exactly. But as far as children, sorry. Let me finish. I'll just finish in 1 second. As far as the hijab is, as far as the children regarded all the way till the wet dream, and a girl till they have the period. That's what the children is concerned. That's what the general consensus is.
Not okay, as you like, but in our part at least, and actually in whole Lebanon, in the Sunni and Shia, the girl at 8, she have to not only wear hijab, also have to pray and fast, which are all the Islamic things. And the guy at 12, before the period, doesn't have nothing to do with the period.
Yeah, and add to this point is all of this is only referenced by hadith, and there is in all the hadiths can be trumped by a single verse from the Quran. So this is one of the main reasons I don't like to use the hadith in arguments, because here is somebody brings me a hadith that says you can, I don't know, eat dates on the 7th day of the week, okay? And then I just say the isnad of that hadith is not good enough.
Yeah, I'm talking about the practice, not the
Right. The practice is
of
whatever
the religious
it is.
word.
Yes.
The Islamic word, yes.
Yes,
But before
I'm not contravening you. I'm just putting it in perspective that when somebody brings a hadith, the hadith doesn't mean anything. People follow it, and in a lot of cases, if you want to look sideways at the matter, you're going to find that a lot of these hadiths and seerahs are being added to the story after the fact to embellish what's already in the Quran.
Yeah, all I'm saying, I'm answering Aaron. Before people are legally have to be like 8 and 12 to children. Before that, they all go to heaven, and after that, they are treated like adults, so they will rot in hell. That was my point.
Yeah. As for hadith, please, this is very clear. The hadith comes, invoke, advise, and try to push your children when they are the boy children at 7th, then beat them at 10. I'll give you the hadith number. There's nothing about the girls. They're talking about the boys, male boys.
Those are the ones to go to.
As far as women are concerned in ancient Islamic society, it's basically for as young as the father is willing to give them up.
Right.
If you want to marry up a 4-year-old,
till these days, by the way, still happening. They're marrying 8-year-old girls to guys. Till these days in Arab world.
Unfortunately.
We need to be careful between those who believe in Sunnah and those now Al-Qur'aniyin, which is they are on the increase. They do not recognize anything to do with hadith. So if we talk about Sunnah, that apply. If we talk about the people who believe in Quran, that does not apply.
They're both the same to me, because it's all about traditions. It's more have to do with traditions, because like the majority of these people I haven't read the Quran even. There are just Muslim, and these are traditions that comes from generation to generation. 2021, and still people are getting children are still getting wed at 8 and 9 years old, and it's legal.
Well, this is actually quite new, at least as far as I understand it. The Islamic tradition in its modern form started in the late 60s, early 70s, when they started to get a lot more common. Bunch of I don't know how to describe them. I guess hermits who sat around in cabins a bunch, thinking about what Islam is supposed to be, and then they spread. From Iran to Egypt to basically everywhere in the Islamic world, and they fucked things up for everybody.
Can I conclude the hadith number? It's Sunan Abu Dawood, hadith number 495. There's nothing else but that as far as hadith. It says, instruct your children to pray at 7 and beat them at 10. Okay, that's the only hadith refer to forcing children to pray.
One guy called Ishaq Ibrahim is saying mutawattir hadith overrides the Quran. I don't know what that means.
No way.
Nothing overrides the Quran.
Wait,
you can bring all the hadiths you have, everything, put them in one pile, and then you put one verse from the Quran that says otherwise, hadith is gone.
Yeah, that's where I disagree here, because it's kind of a fabric that contains itself together. It's one mesh. Whenever you start pulling on the hadith and decide that it doesn't worth anything, then the whole thing just crumbles down. That's why the Quraniyun or the Quranism is one of the best things that happened to Islam, because it's going to end it. The moment people start to believe more in just the Quran, the Islam that we know today will crumble down and end. But that tradition, that the thing about tradition and the Quran is just like it's this. We have a structured society that have been structured like this for some time, for now at least, and it takes from pre-Islamic tradition, takes from local tradition, takes from the Quran, the Hadith, and all meshes together. Just like what Diana said about like kids in Lebanon, and that my sister did the same thing, and when she was 8, she started wearing the hijab. But you could go to somewhere else in like in sub-Saharan Africa where the, or maybe even the Western world, where they will not let their kids wear the hijab until they are in their teens. So it's different. It's just a tradition where it happens and where it's being pushed.
And then there's the other question that comes up, because it's talking about if there's desiccated bodies, or utterly destroyed bodies, like the people that were killed by sharks or whatever, then this torture is going to happen to their soul, which implies that it would have happened to their physical body.
Yes,
this is everybody's physical body, so we're not even talking about supernatural anything. It's just, except for the undead, their physical body is being tortured, and now we have their soul being tortured. The hell does that mean? What is the distinction there? So it's not everybody's soul revived or tortured; it's their physical body, except for the what a bunch of zombies and a ghost.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Aron, but you guys do realize this is all talking about last episode's Sūrah, right?
Yeah.
And the puppies and the kittens are still waiting for the Sūrah today.
That's what it was. I was so confused what we were talking about.
Yeah. Just a follow up from previous one.
If I just may interject about the Hadith situation, so Bukhari, the guy who compiled most of the Hadith, he started apparently with some of like 600 or 700,000 Hadith and ended up with about 6,000 or 7,000. And the idea was Hadith should never contradict the Quran. Quran will always trumps Hadith. But if there's a place where it complements the Quran, or it's not at all mentioned in the Quran, for example, you cannot from the Quran deduce the method of how to pray, the Muslim prayer. It's all from the Hadith or Sunnah. So they're supposed to be complementing each other, but whenever there's a contradiction, the Quran's supposed to always trump Hadith.
Correct.
It's literally the God of the gaps.
See, according to Islamic belief, if the Hadith was to trump anything, it would be the 6 pillars of Islam, not the 5 pillars of Islam. Wouldn't it?
What's the 6th one?
No, if the Hadith was to trump anything, it would have been the 6 pillars of Islam, not the 5 pillars of Islam.
Yeah. So what is the 6th pillar?
There is no 6th pillar. If anything could be considered, the 6th pillar would be the Hadith.
Oh, right.
Sorry. The Hadith is the second source of the Sunnah after the Quran. There's 2 sources where you get your Sharia from: the Quran and Hadith. Nothing to do with the pillar of Islam. We don't need. We should not mix these together.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Like most of the people, like everyone, literally 99% of Islam haven't even read the Quran. Everyone is living their life on a hadith, regardless which part of the hadith, because even the hadith have 7,000 parts. Like Wahhabi will follow something, every part. Like Shia will follow something, Druze will follow something. So everyone have his own hadith, and it become like a tradition, and everyone follows this tradition. They don't even read. We are a nation that doesn't really read. So, and most of them haven't read the Quran. Regardless that the Quran is it by itself a whole contradiction. So of course Hadith will contradict with the Quran.
If the Lebanese read the Quran, they'd be more
Not the
atheistic than
Lebanese.
the Swiss.
Not only the Lebanese. I live next to Syria and to Palestine. So, and we have lots of Syrian, Iraqi, Saudi Arabian. Lebanon is a very small country with more population of other countries. So I'm talking about the whole countries, not only Lebanon.
Actually, an interesting fact about this whole tradition thing is, Mubarak said earlier that in Saudi Arabia, girls start wearing the hijab at 8 years old. But
Yes.
if you go like right across the border to the country right next to it, the UAE, it's very different here. Lots of girls wear at different ages depending on their parents, depending,
Same
because
here in Lebanon. Yeah, same here.
So-
But like I'm talking about the majority, not the exceptions. I am an exception. I'm an atheist from a Muslim family, and my family are Muslim. They never forced hijab on me. So
In my country, there are girls who are as young as 5 who are wearing the hijab.
yeah, that
Yeah.
depends on the
See,
families.
Yeah, like another example, like Kuwait, which is a small country next to Saudi Arabia, where the hijab law is not actually pushed on people. You'll have Muslim women, go all the way through their ages, and they will be in their 60s, 50s, never wore the hijab. You go across the border and to Saudi Arabia, and the hijab law is being enforced, so people are basically and literally forced to wear the hijab. And now we see, if you look at Saudi Arabia right now, you might be a little bit shocked because they are weakening the power of the religious establishment in Saudi Arabia, that there's more women kind of loosely wearing the hijab, not as strict.
Which I'm
Okay.
quite surprised by the way.
Surah
That's politics.
51.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're
Lady
gonna do
Rush.
we're gonna do this surah. Okay.
Yes.
Finally.
I'm sorry
should
for
do
those
this.
2 points follow up.
Yeah, with all these distractions about how important the hadith is.
We'll come to
Can I
that.
say something about this Surah 51? It's
Yes.
one of the, I agree with Bogi when you said like Quran feels like 2 persons have written it. And this is one of the surahs that the writer is a poet. And it's one of the surahs that have very difficult Arabic words that not even Arabic people understand. Just saying.
I don't
Even
think
the
anyone-
translations are confusing.
Hold your
Yes.
horses.
Yeah,
Hold
yeah.
your horses, lady. Hold your horses.
I will. I will.
We understand what this thing says here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the frightening part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, Surah 51.
Yeah,
It's an
I-
interesting one, but
I
not a
read the
very
whole thing
long.
and I didn't understand it, so I think I agree with Diana here.
Yes.
I
I understand
memorized
it,
it.
but it's very difficult. No, I
When I was a
understand it,
kid.
but it's very difficult.
Surah 51 has 2 abrogations, and they are both interesting, as in not by 9-5. So we will get to them when we get to them. Any comments and thoughts between verses 1 and 9?
That's the rain cycle, the Islamic rain cycle.
See, in my translation by Dr. Mustafa Khatib, the very first verse, he goes on to say, like, by the wind scattering dust. For me, it's like, where the fudge do you get the idea that the winds, is dust and all of that? It's like, it makes no freaking sense to me.
Because they
it
couldn't
does.
see
It does.
the
Because,
gas.
it does. Because the Arab has a sandstorm at least once a month. And that has to be related to the mighty of God. And that's where it comes from. It does.
Yeah, see, a person like me who is not from the Arab world, will not correlate this to that.
Sure. That's where the Quran meant for a particular place, particular people. You are absolutely right.
And
Okay.
the nature of the word itself, that it's the word that's used there is the Dhariyat, which is not just regular wind. it's something that actually spread. And
It's
what
when
are they
it's
spreading?
a-
The dust.
Yes, رياح الخمسين.
Yes. Now, so the first three verses are basically swearing by these items here, which is, again, for me, it comes through as, why is the creator of a universe swearing by aspects of his own creation?
Agreed. Phil.
What's broken here? Because there's something broken here, right?
I mean,
The
it would
reality
sound
that
corny if he said. It would sound corny if he said, "Oh my me."
Well, but would it be any? It would make more sense, because
See,
even he is saying, if you're gonna swear by something, you swear by me and nothing else.
Yeah, we're
Right.
not allowed to swear by other stuff.
Right.
see,
Right.
to me, it sounds like a kid who has done something that he shouldn't have done, and he's like, oh, I swear, by this or that, I didn't do it. It wasn't me. That sort of thing.
Right.
That's the vibe I get from it.
I got some
Well,
questions
yeah.
in the chat if I can hit those before we continue. Mallory Walton asks, are there Quran-only Muslims, and if so, what are they like?
Yeah, it's called the Quranism, and there are. You could look into it. I really don't know if there is a population, like a growing population of them, but it's a movement that have been going on since the 1800s.
So they
Started
just
in
ignore it. They ignore the hadiths, do they?
Yeah.
Totally
They
ignore it.
just
Yeah.
throw the hadith away and say, if it's in the Quran, we do it. If it's not in the Quran, we
It's
don't
out.
do it.
I
good.
mean, you could say that's been going on for a while because the hadiths weren't formalized until,
Right.
well, again, very recently. Because back when
Right.
these were first collected, they weren't taken as holy scripture. They were
And
just
it's not
another,
agreed on.
yeah, they were just
And
a
these
collection
hadiths
again
are
amongst many.
right. They can only gain some weight once they're collected and they are used by certain sects in certain groups. Otherwise, these hadiths were supposed to be these were oral stories, if you like. This is an oral tradition that was just running rampant in the Islamic world after and during Muhammad's time, right? And until the Bukhari or whoever else has gotten his butt on it and collected it in a book, people didn't know 90% of this stuff because it didn't cross their paths. So you need to treat this with a huge amount of salt every time it comes around your way, because there could be an entire continent of Muslims who never heard the hadith about the hijab because it didn't go there. Nobody told that story over there because it's not obligatory, but they sure as hell know every verse in the Quran because that was told to them. So again, let's go back. Let's go back to
the Quran only movement. Not only they rejects hadith, but also they reinterpret the Quran. They are more modern type of Muslims, and they don't want the harsh verses in the Quran. So, for example, cutting the hands of the thief is not a literal cutting hands of the thief. They will actually reinterpret that word to be stopping the thief from stealing. So they kind of have that habit of mellowing down the harsh verses of the Quran to mean something a bit more palatable and a bit more modern that can be accepted by the 21st century society.
Agreed. Let me add to that. Agreed. Let me add to that. The leader of those is Dr. Muhammad Shahrur. Started around 2005. The reason he started that, because so many of the hadiths do not make any sense whatsoever. One of them, that when Muhammad asked where the sun goes every day, he says it goes under the throne of Allah. It prostrate there, then it has to be given permission to come back till the doomsday, when it will never be given that permission. It goes back from where it started. So there's so many hundreds of hadiths they found absolutely do not make sense. So to avoid people getting muddled and getting to be atheist, they have moved to do the Quran in the way, a batch up, a very, very acrobatic way, like you said, cutting of the thief, allowing the equal portion for the female as the male, and so many of it to bring Islam to be a nicer, easier, a better picture than what the Hadith brought to. Agree.
If they don't like the Hadith because it doesn't make sense, then that's another whammy on them because the fucking Quran doesn't make sense.
No, but they're gonna make it make sense because the God told them.
You could make anything make sense with those holy books.
You know, God couldn't make it make sense, so he needed other people to make it make sense 2,000 years after he made it.
But it's such a clear book.
I know.
Right.
I mean, it's clearly dumb. You got that right.
This surah is a proof of how clear it is.
Yeah, well, before we get to that surah, I want to get these questions out that because Lalandra has put a little list in here. So Ishaq Ibrahim says mutawatir hadiths are more important than the Quran. Mutawatir hadiths are above the Quran.
No, and no.
That's wrong.
What's a hadith?
Anyone who tells you that wants you in trouble, basically.
Wait,
Yeah.
what's a hadith?
Tawatur, not mutawatir. Al-hadith al-mutawatir. Not mutawatir. Mutawatir.
Yeah.
That is to say, it's being conveyed from a group of people. So those people supposed to be righteous, do not tell lies, and they are known to be good people to another good people to another good people. So it came to us through 25th generation. Each generation is committed to convey the hadith to the best knowledge with the best sincerity. That's what tawatur means.
Okay, so you say mutawatir, I say muddy water. What's the difference?
You can think of it in this way. You can think of it in this way. That it doesn't matter what hadith you're reading. Ultimately, it's Muhammad's word in Islam. But if they see the Quran as God's word, so it doesn't so nothing Muhammad says is above what God says. So there's no hadith that is above the Quran.
Yeah, but we need to be careful. Need to be careful. The verse says that the prophet will never say anything but from God. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. We need to be careful here. So that's where they pick up the hadith, okay? We need to be careful. That really the word of Muhammad is very much next to the word of Allah. The verse is very clear. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. Okay.
The problem is the evidentiary process, which is non-existent here. You don't know if Muhammad said these words or not. You don't know if anybody who even saw Muhammad from a great distance even heard him say anything like this.
No, but here's the thing, it's even worse.
There is no perfect telephone call recording of this, nothing. As far as you can be concerned at any point in time, each and every hadith has been made up by somebody who wants to tell a story later on.
And just for people's benefit here, for those who don't know, the hadith study itself, it has multiple categories based on the sources of the hadith. So there are different types of hadith. There's the Qudsi, there's the Mutawatir, there's the one that is a little bit doubtful, and it's all based on the how hadith were handed over reliably over time. And there are some that are
purity of the hadith.
Yeah, right? So there are different types of hadith.
Good.
It's the purity, how pure the hadith is.
All right, our next question.
Next question.
All right, so this is Scarlett de Leon. Wasn't it said previously that Allah would return the flesh to bones to torture people? Wouldn't he then just recreate a shark victim's body for stated torture?
Yeah.
He could.
This is why hadiths are not really very reliable. The Quran already said it's going to reconstruct you for the torture because extra joy. So
that's the torture in the afterlife torture, being in hell, not the torture in the grave, which was the purgatory question. So for the finale, you'll be rebuilt again.
For the grand finale. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and then we have another one. So this is Kayla and Jim Bryant ask, so are the hadiths like the BOM? I guess they mean Book of Mormon, in that they are subject to revision?
They are subject to revision, but they're not like the BOM. Right. The
They're not a completely new religion.
The BOM is revelation according to the Mormon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the revelation happens within the Mormon prophets because they keep a set of living prophets at all time, just out of necessity, I guess. But the hadiths is something that is attributed to Muhammad having said it or did it back in the day when he was still running around saying and doing things.
If you pee a certain way, you have to pee this way.
True.
Right. Sorry, they are not subject to any revision. They're subject to interpretation. You can have one hadith who has 3, 4, 5, 6 different interpretations. That's one thing. The other thing we need to know about hadith, out of 720,000 hadith of the 6 imam, they took 4%. They took 4% as authenticated. And that gives you the measure of how many hadiths has been told, which is they have really threw out of the windows. So we need to be careful again. 730,000 hadiths, not only one imam is Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Abu Dawud, and Ibn Majah. They've taken only around 3.5 to 4% out of those hadiths. Out of those 4%, you will still see a majority of those hadiths do not make sense whatsoever. Go ahead.
And you are here just talking about the
surprised.
Sunni. You're talking about the Sunni hadith, not the Shiite hadith, which is they are different.
Yeah, I'm referring to the Sunni hadith. The Shia, I'm not too sure of the Shia, but they've added many hadiths as well. You're right.
Yeah.
And then the last question on this list is, this one is from Son of Iblis, which I love that name.
I know.
Yeah, is there a secular sect of Islam that is very unpopular with the mainstream?
Yes.
That is a very cool question.
Yes, there is at least 5 of them. I can remember the Ahmadiyya. The Ahmadiyya has got their own interpretation generated from Pakistan, and they are regarded as kuffar, as one of the people unpopular with the Sunnis, with the majority of Sunnis as well as the Shia.
Really? That's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, Bogi, can you take us back to the surah that we're supposed to be covering today?
Yes.
30 minutes
and that one. So 1 to 4 is basically just swearing by his own creations and the aspects of it, right? And then 5 is going to make a statement here. It's going like, what I promised you is true. And the end day is going to happen. It's going to happen. And then he starts swearing again. And the sky that has pathways.
And by the heavens in their marvelous design.
Yes,
but I don't know how marvelous this design is, because the nearest star to us is 4 light years away, and it is impossible for us to get there.
Well, for now, just wait until, some technology catches up. And
we can't even get to our nearest planet.
Yeah, but Judgment Day is coming up. He said it's pretty soon, remember?
Right, it's always very soon, because otherwise how can you keep people on their tiptoes?
Yeah, another important thing, we could conceivably get to our nearest planet, but the reason we haven't yet is because we would still die there.
Verses 7 has got a huge debate among the scholars who call themselves, they know the scientific issues in the Quran. It literally means, one of the interpretation, the sky that's been knitted together. That's what al-hubuk mean. Okay, now they're trying so desperate to tell us that galaxies as well as stars, as well as they really come in a very nice knitted way. And they try just to batch this up. That's what al-hubuk mean. Was al-hubuk. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I just need to mention this.
Yeah, this wouldn't be the first time Allah refers to his creation, like heaven and earth and whatnot, with garment-related expressions. Just to make the وَخَلَقْنَا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ رِتْقًا وَفَتَقْنَاهَا. That's garment-related very much, and this one in Hubuk too. Again, it's knitted. It's garments.
Yeah. See, now I could. Well, I will give an excuse for those scholars and say, not taking it literally, but it's another metaphor for the sky. Because how do you explain the galaxy and everything to someone in the 700 AD, trying to explain to them, well, the sky is this mixed up, built up thing that we don't understand. So let me give you an example. Here is something you understand. Let's take this fabric. It's like this fabric, and the thing that it makes me think about this is that the way it's explained, or the way that a lot of early Muslim thought of the globe, which wasn't globe at that time, a flat Earth and something covering it. So you have this dome and a cover. That cover is being built in a way like the fabric, so it's built together. I don't know if that make any sense, but that's the Quran for you.
I mean, what stands out for me, obviously, there is no such thing as sky. Physics, there isn't such thing as a sky. That's a poetic language. It's not scientific. It's not true. But what really stands out for me is that the first 9 verses, they're represented in a way just like a gypsy casting a spell. It's so vague. Usually you adopt somebody who you have a conversation with who doesn't get into the subject very quickly and keep telling you things, and you're going, man, come on, get on with it. Tell me exactly what you want. And this is the creator of the universe with such a vague intro that can mean anything. And even some of the translations you can see about the Sayyarat, they put ships in between brackets because it could be anything. It's just an insane language that is open to interpretation, that can mean anything on any given day.
Yeah, and that I don't know. I know of a tradition in Arabia that when you are swearing to a friend, not in a court setting, but sometime when you take some leisure with poetry, you ask like when you say to someone like between for the friendship between us and the days we have spent together and stuff like this, and that's exactly what Allah is doing here. He's trying to swear, make it poetic, to intrigue the people that gonna read it or listen to it. We're like, oh wait, he have something important to say, so let's listen what this person is saying.
Eventually he'll make his point.
Sometimes
for the people, for me, like for the people who want to say that the Quran is scientifically accurate, I call bullshit on that, because if you want to hold up the Quran to the scientific method, this will fail 100% of the time.
Wait,
a few years ago you would...
is...
sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
let's go to the next verse, which is 10, which is kind of like not nice. 51:10. From the start, this surah has very short and abrupt verses, which is kind of what we discussed previously. 1 or 2 words. This is generally a hallmark of many Mecca surahs, as we have come to experience. We will see a lot less of these in the Medani part when we get there, which generally have much longer verses. The linguistic notes in 51:10, which is what I wanted to note for, is...
this is Bogey's first note.
Yes.
40 minutes in.
Yes, I know. So 51:10 is basically uses the word "killed are the liars," right? So that's the actual 2 words that are in there.
Wait, which verse?
10.
What's 10?
قتل الخراصون.
قُتِلَ الْخَرَّاسُونَ.
Yeah.
They have been killed, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we already know why, because 9:5. But yeah, that's the note I was going to try to make, is that this is like, yeah, we're going to kill those who don't believe. And this is one of the reasons why this verse is not abrogated, because it's in line with the rest of it.
I like how I'm reading 4 translations and none of them use the exact word that there should be.
Exactly.
Yeah, the translation I have is condemned.
Yeah.
Perish the imposters. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I've got perish the liars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says qutila. Is that qutila? If I said
I wonder
qutila
if
X, Y, Z, that means that a murder just happened.
Yeah, but
I
I would
how the
agree
secular
with
sects would
kill.
make
You're
this,
right. I would agree with kill. Qutila is
Yeah,
kill. You're
yeah.
right. To be killed.
If you go to the police station with that word in your mouth and then put a name in front of after that, they will send out the serious incident team because somebody's been murdered.
No, this is not up for interpretation. You're making it sound like it's up for interpret. No, it's not. The word literally means killed. It translates directly to killed.
Right. I'm
There's
saying.
no world where it means anything but killed.
Yeah. And guys, that's just a down payment. You know that's qutila means to be killed in life, but the real party starts when they're dead.
Well, right.
Here's the thing. How
note. He's using the past participle of qatala.
Yeah.
They are already being murdered.
You're right. Past participle. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
It's
now
a
I'm
done
gonna
deal.
throw a wrench in the whole thing, because you could use the word qutila, mean like doomed, in a not an actual, you don't go and kill them, but more like they are doomed because they're lying.
And what's stopping you from not taking this literally?
Why wouldn't you say yuhlaka or anything that means doomed? Why?
Because there is another thing. There is a tradition in Arabic language that when you say qutila so and so, is meaning that they are doomed. They are bad people. They are not good. Yes, originated as go and kill them. Nowadays, does it actually mean go and kill them?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't agree with al-Kharrasun to mean actually liars. I think, in my opinion, it more means those who conceal the truth.
Yes, the unbelievers. He's talking about the unbelievers.
But
those who deny.
Yeah.
Yes, who deny it, who hide it.
Yeah.
That's one of the main reasons I don't like the word kafir, because there is no thing that you kafir about. It's obvious the lack of the God as it is. You're not hiding its existence. It's not there.
Well, here's the thing. My
But
book.
the second verse
Quran,
will explain the first.
Yes.
Wait a second.
Yes.
My Quran explains it as لُعِنَ الكذابون. So
yeah, which is wrong because right.
But isn't it akin, guys, to the modern day accusations of the faithful ones telling atheists, no, you guys really not, deep down that there is a God, but you're just denying it. You know. And it's very similar to the same sort of accusations we face these days.
Yeah, there is
a question I get a lot.
No reason to know that. There is no reason to know that.
Look, I know one thing. Okay, this book keeps saying it's clear and explicit, but it can't even say the sentence "people go bye-bye" without fucking it up.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not using this to direct my life. All right.
To me, when I was religious, when I read this verse, the two verses, قُتِلَ الْخَرَّاسُونَ, and the verse after it, it was very simple to me, because I understand that all the infidels and the atheists are killed. I had no other explanation for it.
Which is right. That's what it wants to say. And if you look at 11 and if you look at 11 and 12, it elaborates exactly who the Kharrasun are.
We are. Yeah.
Yeah. الذين هم في غمرة ساهون. يسألون أيان يوم الدين.
Yeah.
Where is that end day? It's not going to happen. That's just bullshit, right? These are the harasun. It explains it to you, just in case you had any doubts in your mind.
For an all-knowing being, he sure does hate questions a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, he does. He does.
Definitely.
And so do the imams.
Muhammad said not to ask questions that will not lead to you becoming more faithful. Something like that.
Yeah.
Or it will hurt you if you know the answer.
Yeah. That will hurt your faith.
Yeah.
Yes. My next note in 5119. So if you have anything to say before that, go ahead.
Okay, so 19 is giving a rightful share of their wealth to the beggar and the deprived.
Yes. So this is part of the legislative and taxation system of Islam and the Quran. But this is also abrogated, and this is the first abrogation in the surah. Aaron, please read your notes here.
The first abrogation. So have you noticed that traditionally Christianity and Islam both advocate social welfare, wealth distribution, and the modern variants of both religions object to that anywhere outside of a church or a mosque?
Yes. So this is the first abrogation on this surah. 960, the beggars and the depraved have a share in their wealth. It is too ambiguous. This verse of distributing the wealth is too ambiguous. So the Quran correct this in 960, which is the abrogator. The alms are for, and then it goes on a list what they are for in detail. It says the poor, the needy, the employed to administer the funds, for those whose hearts have been converted to Islam and reconciled to truth, to those who have joined Islam recently, for those in bondage or in debt. So debt. Interesting. Student loans. Anyone?
So this is not the same as zakat, is it?
No.
This is just, well, the alms are part of what the zakat is. So, and in the cause of Allah, right, which can be understood as jihad. And for the wayfarer, these are travelers that got stuck in places they don't have income in. Ordained by Allah, and Allah is full of knowledge and wisdom. Because of course he is. So,
which is not
the detailed. Yes.
It's okay. All those subjects, the zakah subject did not originated with Islam. It's a tradition in Arabic. Believes that you take, when you have a stranded person, you take care of them and you move them, and when you have poor around them, you take care. We have stories about people buying slaves prior to Islam and freeing them. So people in debt and bondage, they will take care of that. So all those people, all those things have already been done by non-Muslims, by kuffar and mushrikeen Quraysh before Islam. So Islam did not bring a new legislation here, just put it down in the book for people.
Well, of course, the concept is not new, but think about it as a marketing idea. You know, this is a classic carrot and stick situation. You're trying to market the idea of Islam, and you're basically saying, "Oh, there's hell," and you scare people. Don't you dare think otherwise. And then on the other hand, straight away, it goes like, "But if you come to the fold, we'll look after you. Even if you're poor, we need numbers here. Come, and it will be all right. We'll look after you." It's a marketing technique.
I don't disagree with you, and it's the only thing that's new here is that the people who convert to Islam who are poor will get charity, or they will, like, if they are on the edge to convert to Islam, they will be given support. So that expand the charity work with nefarious like goals at the end of it, almost charity behind them. It just, we want you into, which remind me a lot of Mother Teresa.
I need to make some correction here. I mean, I said that is including zakat and some more. So it is basically they have taken this as the zakat is committed. It started from this verse that haqqun ma'lum, it's a commitment, right, for so and so. So, but it's not limited to zakat. That's correct.
No, it's actually zakat and sadaqah, right?
Yeah.
Sadaqah is the non-compulsory part that you give. It's donations, right? But we don't need to go into that particular detail, but yeah.
The more I think about this, the more I realize how bullshit this is. Because essentially you are entered, if you're born a Muslim, you are entered into this taxation system that you're not allowed to leave on pain of death. It's ridiculous.
That sums it up.
Yeah, that's Islam for you. If you are a convert to Islam, make sure that
welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club that you cannot leave. It's fucking Hotel California.
Can we state the fact that most people who come and take the zakat and the sadaqah, we have no freaking idea where the money is going? We do have we do have a freaking idea. They're taking it and building their houses and buying new cars. Nothing really goes to the poor people.
Yes.
Oh, this is very true in my country, where the authorities who deal with the zakat and sadaqat, they have a whole what you call panel that deal with it. So people they go there, they do their donations, and you go to the street and you still see poor people. They're not fed, they're not clothed, they're like nothing is being done. But those panels, people's houses just keep growing higher.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Go ahead, Diana.
Some countries, I think it's obligatory to have zakat and khumus. In Lebanon, it's not obligatory. It's just people knocking on the door, and if you are, because everything is political in Lebanon, if you belong to this party, you'll give them money, or wait for the other party to come and give them the money because you like the leader of the party, not because of the deen of anything. So, but it's not obligatory. But I'm sure that none of this money will go to poor people. And all the shuyukh, the sheikh, and the people under them have so much money. You can see it in their brand new cars, in their villas, in their huge houses. Yeah. So
that's exactly
that applies to every religion, madam. That applies to every religion, not only to Islam.
Yeah.
Not every religion, every country.
Yeah.
The worst offender for this, I think, is the Red Crescent. Because, you see like the Red Crescent advertised, especially in the Gulf countries, you see them a lot. But if you see the migrant workers or the poor people in these countries, they live horrible lives. They barely have any rights as workers. They're exploited. Sometimes it used to be like in Saudi Arabia, your employer could legally take away your passport so you couldn't leave.
Yeah, he's same in Lebanon.
Yeah, they live miserable lives.
Lives in the Middle East.
Yeah, and the Red Crescent just takes all these like millions of dollars every year, and they basically just sometimes send some missions to Africa, and that's it. Where the fuck does the money go?
The government?
But to be sort of fair, Muslims will argue that the zakah is actually quite modest. I think it's 2.5%. And they would say to you, well, any system in the world, be it political, there is a taxing element. And one of the things about Islam, I believe, you can pay into the house of money, Beit al-Mal, where they distribute the money to the poor as they see fit. But you can actually go directly to the poor and dispense of those funds. But the other argument, well, with the normal modern taxation, the funds, whether you're paying 10, 20, 30, 40%, Scandinavia is quite high, up to 50%, the money will actually go into building establishment and infrastructure and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of a weak argument in my view.
Yes,
I
that
guess.
is a very, very complicated subject. I think it needs a separate session altogether.
Let's
Extremely
leave the
complicated.
money. Let's leave the money and the worldly possessions
Yeah,
behind.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But let's
Give
Yeah.
them all to me. Give them all to me.
give it all to him. Okay. Anyways, 5148 is my next note, unless somebody wants to say something between.
Bogi, before you continue, I have a thought on verse 20 here, which is there are countless signs on earth for those with sure faith. So I am wondering what these signs are.
I mean, you just gotta look around, man. Come on, open your eyes. You got stomach
Yeah.
cancer,
Just look
malaria.
at the trees. The trees.
One thing is, whenever people came to Muhammad and asked him for miracles, he would say, "Oh, don't look at this, look at that. If I show you a miracle, God will destroy you. Haven't you seen Moses? Haven't you seen Noah? Instead, look at this."
The camel,
Yes.
the camel is the best ayah for you to look at. Okay,
No.
it's the
It's
ship
coming
of
up,
the
yeah.
desert, and it can go 60, 70 days or 10 days on water. It can, so that's your ayah, the best you could do.
But guys, did you
Okay.
see how it's cleverly constructed? It's very similar to Christianity. If you read the very last word in that Sūrah, for those with sure faith.
Faith, yeah.
The caveat here is you got to first believe, then you'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, people with a
Self-fulfilling,
sword
you know?
to your neck, you're gonna believe a lot of things.
Yeah.
You're surprised how much faith a man can generate.
All right. So 48 it is?
48.
48.
We spread out the earth. How well we smoothed it out.
Oh, yeah. Ooh,
Wow.
yeah.
Totally ironed it.
you
That's why
know,
we
he
have
actually,
mountains and stuff.
you know that he actually used the word farasha, by the way. Just like you make your bed, just like you put the spread on the table. Okay.
I prefer my peanut butter to be crunchy. Thanks very much.
Right. But this is flat as flat does it get. Like if you were gonna do a farish or something, that just only comes off in my mind as this is gonna be a flat thing that you did. Like a
Then why the
table
hell-
spread or a bed sheet.
But then why the hell do we have valleys and peaks and?
Well, wait, we'll come to that in the next surah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So he says again, he is the best spreader. I know.
It's okay. We're all adults here. We can move past it.
But I think verse 47 is currently being used as a proof that the Quran predicted the Hubble.
I'm going to say that. I'm glad you mentioned it. I'm going to go back to this. Okay.
Yeah, let's go back to 47. Is that the initial expansion of the universe immediately after the Big Bang?
Definitely not. The Musi'un, they all make mistake. The Musi'un, that we are capable of. It is not to expand. So that they need to be careful with this. The word Musa' is the one who can not extend, the one who can make things better and more, not extend.
So how long do you have to wait, and do you have to hold your breath for somebody to jump in and say this means the expansion of the universe?
A misinterpretation again. It says acrobatic interpretation.
But how long do you have to wait for it to come?
See,
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
The translation from Dr. Mustafa Khatib is the very last bit there says, and we are certainly expanding it, as in present tense.
But it's actually correct in terms of science as well. What is happening? The universe or the space is actually not expanding. It's the other way around. It's what's within that space that we know is available is redshifting, is going away from each other, creating space as they move away from each other. So it's not the other way around. Space isn't created. It gets created as elements within the current space move away and redshift away from each other. So they got it wrong, even if you sort of give them that.
Yeah, it's a table spread that keeps getting bigger. Okay.
There's nothing added to it. It's just moving apart.
A lot of spreading going on in this surah. You guys got any unresolved emotions from Valentine's Day?
My next stop.
What about the fact that as we made it the roof of the earth, the sky as a roof for the earth, and sky is not really there. There is no sky.
Yes.
There's space.
No, there is. Come on, and there is also small lamps on it.
Well, there is a sky, I would say. When we refer to the sky, we refer to the general atmosphere above the earth. But it's not a physical object. It's more of, I guess, gas.
It's not
and
a
it's
roof.
Also
it's
a roof. It's a roof and it's leaky. Come on.
If you ask me, the Quran is gas.
Hot air. Well,
my
49.
Next point.
Are you going to 49?
You want to go for 49? Go for 49. Mine was 56.
Okay, 49. And it says, we have created from everything a pair. So, everything, there's a male and a female. Hey, there is more than just male and female, and all of, like, you could look at around, there's more, and there is creatures are just, there's no sex. It's a single cell and do not have a sex.
Correct.
Give us some biology here.
But I mean, certain species of lizards are.
The Almighty that knows everything didn't know that there are things, living creatures with no sex, or a sex rather than just male or a female.
There are certain lizards that are just one gender, like only female or only male. So I guess, I don't know, if, some sort of civil war, a bunch of civil wars happened between lizards that the Quran didn't mention, I guess. I don't know.
We have another couple of questions. One is G Skeptic asks, when Muslims make claims that there's something scientifically accurate, they mean that what scientists discovered is actually what's in the Quran. There are no metaphors and analogies.
No, what they actually mean there's what science have discovered. The Quran have something that sounds somewhat close to what it have discovered.
Yeah, vaguely similar to that.
Yeah, there is no science. It's an ancient book with no scientific knowledge.
And that's why different cultures and different religions discovered it before us.
Yeah. Otherwise, why the fuck did not the Muslim discover all the sciences that they have been talking about? They wait for the scientist to discover it, then they will be like, oh, it's in the Quran.
Yeah, it's in there. Come on. It's all in there. So my next note is 56.
Hold on, I got one more question. Let's see, this is from Jason. This is about abrogations. So Bogey will be taking this, I'm sure. What are some specifics on this concept regarding the arbiters deciding what gets abrogated? Who did this and when was this done? And is it always 100% consensus?
It pretty much is. Abrogations have been well known even during the time of Muhammad, especially later in the revelation, as per temporally. The people who lived around Muhammad and have been around him, they all knew about it, and there have been long discussions at the time when the Quran was corrected to drop the verses that are abrogated entirely from the book, so you wouldn't even see them, and replace them with their abrogator as it is. That didn't happen because apparently the person who was doing the collection of the Quran said, I will not alter the word of Allah. So they actually ended up having to create a separate list with the abrogation. And it's more or less agreed upon. There are some differences here and there. It's not 100%, but it's close enough that if you look at the abrogations that we have discussed so far in this series, the verse that is chronologically comes later after the verse we're talking actually either contradicts it or adds to it or changes the meaning of that very verse. So there is a subject that the verse is talking about, and when a later verse comes and says something different about the very same subject, it abrogates it. And that's a standard rule in the Quran.
Can I add something here? Very important. Please. Absolutely. There is an update of saying the particular verdict comes into installments because God says, Allah says, we cannot give you things all of a sudden, like forbid the drinking of alcohol, because these people known to have alcohol all the time. If I do that, it'll be severe. So I'll say it got a commercial issues, benefit as well as bad things. Then do not pray while you're drunk, and then all of a sudden. So they refer to that as an ease of the verdict, an ease of the commitment. Now, abrogation, as far as we're concerned, there is nothing so clear, absolutely, to say this verse has been abrogated or not. It is only the consensus of some people, is interpretation. Now, some Sunnis, and now majority, not majority, minority, they deny there is anything to do with abrogation in the Quran. They says the verses come to elaborate, to explain, to give us a better understanding. There's no such a thing as abrogated. Now, but as far as the original people says, there's 250 verse being absolutely changed, abrogated, and abrogated. So that's very, very important. The Quraniyin do not acknowledge anything to do with abrogation.
Don't forget, guys, there's actually an explicit surah in the Quran where God talks about that sometimes he may choose to lose a verse or cause you to forget one. He's talking to Muhammad, and he will always bring something that is better. So there's an admission in the Quran itself that sometimes verses may be lost or forgotten, and God will intervene and will bring something better.
The verse says it may. The verse says it may. Be careful. It didn't say it happened.
Yeah, it may.
Okay?
Yeah.
We need to be careful here. It says it may. That doesn't mean it happened. I agree.
I've got a super chat.
To know that God
Thank you
for discussing a book that we all agree isn't true, right?
I say so. Majestic P. Beck gave me a $20 Canadian super chat. Thank you for that. He says, as for abrogation, is it not a fact that the Muhammad, I'm sorry, must have meant Muhammad, said to take the later verse to be the correct?
Oh, he's calling Muhammad a hack. I get it.
No, I think he tried to say Muhammad.
Maybe.
The point is that there are verses in the Quran which say, basically, if I give you a verse now and later I can give you a new verse that's better than the one I gave you before. So it is mentioned in the Quran as a thing. And it is, again, by consensus, it's generally known which verses are abrogated and which are their abrogators. For all intents and purposes, there are lists on the internet. And if you go and actually buy an Arabic Quran, I have seen copies. Well, you're wasting your money, but it looks very nice on the shelf. If you right like that, you're gonna find a page somewhere, a couple of pages in the back where the abrogations are actually listed as they are. So again, yes, it's kind of an agreed upon thing. No, it's not 100%, but it's pretty darn close.
Yeah, but there is a danger element to it because there are some very extreme people who would believe all peaceful verses in Quran were actually superseded by those that incite war and violence, because now Islam does not have to hide under a rock. It's strong. It does not need to appeal to mercy or compassion. So that can be quite dangerous. Obviously, they're a minority, but it can be quite dangerous idea.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying it is not. It's to the point that if somebody wants to tell you that we don't kill infidels because the Quran said you have a religion and I have mine. Well, that verse is obviously abrogated and nobody follows it because infidels are being killed everywhere in Islamic countries. So it's like, what are they reading? Are they contravening their own book? No, they're not. The abrogations are there and they're being very much followed in the Islamic world. Same thing with the mentioned abrogation about alcohol. It came in 3 parts, right? Do you think there are Muslims in the Muslim world? Okay, there are plenty of Muslims in the Muslim world that drink alcohol daily, and that's a thing, right? But in terms of legality, right? Do you think the Muslims in Islamic countries, if you stop them in the street and ask them, do you drink alcohol? They will say no, never, not even touching it, not even getting close to it. This is the 3rd part of the abrogation. This is the 3rd step of the abrogation they're following, because obviously they are aware of it. There was a stage, as you mentioned it, where it was okay to drink alcohol. And then there was a stage that said, well, try not to get drunk during prayer times. And then came the 3rd stage where it says, yeah, you know what? No, you're drinking too much, guys. Stop drinking. No alcohol anymore in Islam. Right?
But even this controversial.
And to the evidence, you can't get alcohol in Islamic countries unless you prove that you're not a Muslim.
Yeah, in Lebanon, we can.
Lebanon is an exception. I'll grant you.
Yeah, I know.
May I add something to what the previous gentleman said?
Yes.
About the severity of the what it could cause. Like my ex-brother-in-law, he adamantly believes that all kafirs should be killed. You know, and to this effect, he tried to go to Syria to kill the infidels.
I've actually had 2 people from my class and from high school try to go to Syria at least, but they couldn't for whatever reason.
Now, these are people that want to join ISIS?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
But there are incidents also, there are incidents like in Egypt a couple of years ago, people, not infidels, they're called Khawarij. They were like literally, they took them out from their houses and they slaughtered them. And police were watching. That was in Egypt because they are Muslim but different religion. I think they were Shia, I don't care. But they were slaughtered in daytime in front of the police just because they're not Sunni. So it's not only about infidels. It's not only about ISIS. It's in their religion itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like my ex-brother-in-law adamantly believed that all kafirs and all infidels and all non-believers, should be, their heads should be literally chopped off.
Yeah. See, the thing is about Islam. It's one of those religion. It's more like a fire religion. It's gonna burn anything it's touch, and whenever it doesn't have anything to touch, it's gonna burn itself down. We see through the history of Islam, Muslim fighting other non-believers or whatever, and the moment they don't fight them, they start fighting themselves. The modern day example, we have the Ahmadis being killed and slaughtered in Pakistan, and when they are done with the Ahmadis, they went to the majority Sunni Pakistan, went to the Shia and start killing the Shia, because that's what they're doing.
Also in Yemen with Houthis.
Exactly, I was gonna say the Yemeni and Iraq is another example. It's that thing whenever there's whenever we see if you have a different interpretation of the Quran, no matter what you think, or the Hadith or whatever, if you have a different viewpoint than us, then you are against us. And as the Quran teaches, whoever against you is worthy of being killed. And because Muhammad said in the Hadith that there is one surviving truth religion or truthful religion, so everyone think that the truth with them, and whenever you think the truth with you, everyone else is lying, and everyone else is working with the devil. Everyone else, You hear it everywhere in every religion too. Just the difference is in Muslim country there's more fundamental belief that you should go and kill them, just not disown
I've got
it
a point.
and move beyond.
I've got a point, if I may, before we leave, just a minute, no more. The big issue nowadays, it's the verse 7 in chapter 3. It says, "It is he who revealed to you the book. Some of its verses are definitive. They are the foundation of the book, and others are metaphorical." Now, the problem that we're facing, the Muslim facing as a challenge, nobody knows which are those are the foundation and which are those are metaphorical. And although it's been confirmed, and that is the challenge, that Muslims cannot answer this particular question, because when we talk about abrogation, we talk about this in particular. Okay.
Imagine any other situation, any type of information that you would ever want to share with somebody, that if they don't believe it, maybe they don't understand it, whatever the problem is, but if they don't believe it, you would want to kill them. What other situation could there ever be any kind of information that you could tell somebody, like, I don't believe that. Oh, now I have to kill you.
Especially when the information is presented in such ambiguous and unclear way. And I mean, that verse that the gentleman was just talking about, it's almost like God is posing a challenge. It's a puzzle. Go figure type of situation.
At least
but he's confirming there is such a thing, first. But he didn't tell us where. That's the problem. He's confirming.
Clearest of all books.
Okay.
I'm seeing a puppy and a kitten there holding two signs with 88 on them.
See, one of the things that, that we're talking about just one side of the extremism of what the religion can cause. The other side of the extremism happens within the household itself, where, case in point, again, I have to refer back to my ex-brother-in-law, where he is like, women should not be this or that, women should not even laugh out loud to that extent,
Yeah, of course.
Where this is very damaging to
understand that.
Just to tell Aaron, like, we are compared, women's voice is compared to the donkey's voice. Like in our society in Shia, إن أنكر الله أنكر الأصوات عند الله الحمير والنساء. Because the worst voices to God's ear are the donkeys and the women.
Sorry, I just had to do a face palm right there.
But I must say, the Shia added something here.
Okay,
that is just fudged up, man.
I guess we sweetened the pot for Valentine's.
The Quranic verse says that the worst of the voices is that of the donkey. So I guess the Shias added the woman there, because it's not in the Sunni scripture.
No, it's not in the Sunni.
It's a hadith. It's a hadith. And the Shia. I was raised like, don't raise your voice. You are like, it's to God's ears, not in general. Like, the worst voices to God's ears are the voice of the donkey and
Why
the
is he
woman.
listening? Why is he listening then?
Because that's what they say.
What does
God
go
listen to Pharaoh's way. That happened to be a woman too.
Imagine. That's why in Shia you can't have a Qari at Quran which is Muslim. You will never find a Shia Muslim woman that reads the Quran or a Shaykha. You will never find it.
Yeah. Well, religions
that's in the Sunni too. That's in the Sunni. You're not allowed to be imam, or you're not allowed to recite the Quran loud. That's in the Sunni too.
Yeah.
Now, for an interesting cross reference here, I have heard, I didn't meet them personally, but I have heard of a couple of women imams in America.
Exceptional.
There are in Egypt also.
I'm not saying they're not. Okay.
No, there
I'm not
are
saying
in
they're
Egypt.
not. Yes,
there are women qari'as in Egypt, and we have in Shia women qari'as who reads in between the women. But men should not hear him.
Yeah, not Qari'at, but actually
Imam,
like
you're right.
imams, women imams. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think there is one.
They pray in the mosque as imam. You're right. Correct.
Well, they will definitely end up in hell.
The throne of Allah must be cracking.
Yeah, I mean, Paul the Apostle in Christianity, didn't he say women should not be speaking in church? So the tradition has just been carried over. It's
Correct.
It's a pattern.
Yeah.
Okay, Surah 88.
Down with the
please.
patriarchy.
Wait, actually, actually, I think I read somewhere that there is no record from the time that Paul actually said that. I think it was added later on to justify the church's sexism. So
Bart Ehrman reckons it is an addition, and it actually wasn't as chauvinist as
Who cares?
Surah 88. Surah 88.
Al-Ghāshiya.
Boogie wants to get going.
Yeah.
Boogie,
Yeah.
before we move on to the
Haram.
before we move on to the next surah, can we finish on 52, please?
Yeah.
The translation that I have says, similarly, no messenger came to those before them without being told a magician or a madman. I agree with that statement.
What verse? Sorry, what verse are you referring to?
Verse 52.
Okay.
Surah 51, verse 52. Okay, moving to 88, please.
All right. And which verse would you like to start with?
Okay, the first verse is, I'm just going to make a small. The Ghāshiya is an overwhelming event. We talked about this just prior.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an overwhelming event that knocks you out unconscious. So whatever that may be, of course he means the judgment day, but like it describes it as an event that will knock you out unconscious. Okay.
Right. Correct.
Right. So this is a shorty one, only 26 short verses, LOL. Just for Valentine. I think that word is haram, by the way. Any countries, Islamic countries that celebrate Valentine or consider it an okay thing to celebrate?
I remember when I was in Saudi Arabia,
Lebanon.
people went to jail if you had like hearts and stuff on you and shit like that. But
Yeah.
that's about
Pretty-
7 years ago.
In
Just
Egypt,
an
it's
info
celebrated.
about Lebanon. We have
yeah.
about 18 holidays. We celebrate, and it's literally a holiday. Like we have the banks and everything official will close. We have 2 Christmases, the Armenian Christmas and the southern and the western and southern and eastern Christmases. So have 2 Christmases, 2 New Years, 1 Adha, 1 Hijri year, 3 Ramadans, 3 fast Ramadans, 3, not 1. We have celebrate 3 days for Ramadan fasting, and we have the Druze religion. We have Halloween. We have Barbara, which is our version of Halloween. Lebanese version is just Saint Barbara, and we have Valentine Day, and we have around all the religions, everything we have.
Lucky you.
Yeah, lucky us, yes.
Or holidays.
We've got a
We also
question.
have one day which I celebrate is Labor Day. We have this one also. We celebrate Labor Day, which is
We got a question
I'm
in the
supposed to-
private chat, and I need one of our Arabic speakers to read it because I don't know what it's trying to say.
I'll read
They
it.
tried to write it out where I could read it, but I would still pronounce it wrong.
I'll try to read
is
it.
the verse containing the translation وَهْدِرْبُهُنَّ?
وَاضْرِبُهُنَّ.
Oh,
Yeah.
beat
Hit
them.
What is the question? I can't
He's asking if
actually
it's a
read it.
metaphorical or a literal translation.
We will get to that when we get there.
Yeah.
Just wait for it. This is coming.
It's
Okay.
coming. It's a teaser for next episode, not the next episode, but whenever we come to it.
There is an episode in the future that will discuss this in grave detail.
I
Correct.
see what you
Okay.
did there.
Yes, it also has 3 of its tiny little verses abrogated, but we'll come to that very soon. Okay, so my first note is on 8801. Aaron, please read your notes, your comments.
All right. So my comment on that first vote: have you heard tell a prophet about an overwhelming event? My note was yes. As a matter of fact, I have. Remember when the evangelical radio broadcaster Harold Camping said that a global earthquake would rip the world in half on May 21st, 2011? One of his followers, Robert Fitzpatrick, blew his life savings of $140,000 on 1,000 advertisements on bus shelters, subway cars, and so on, like a billboard that was pictured in the blog post, warning people about the end of the world, which was supposed to happen at precisely 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And then I included an image of Fitzpatrick checking his watch and realizing that the time has come and gone. The world was still here, and he is still here, only he's now completely broke and elderly. Harold Camping had already published at least 4 other failed end times prophecies even before that, 3 of them in 1994 and another in 2005. So Fitzpatrick should have known better by now. But because faith means never admitting when you're wrong, he proclaimed that he has no regrets. He instead began preparing for when the world would really end, which was supposed to be 6 months later, and that's almost a decade ago now. Yet at least 3 or 4 more end times prophecies were already prophesied and failed since then.
Yeah.
I'm kind of disappointed you didn't include the bit where people filled with sex dolls with helium to make it look like they got raptured.
The thing is, end of times happen.
You can look it up.
End of times happen all the time, every day, every single second. It's the death of everyone. Anyone who dies, it's the end of days for that particular person. So it's quite trivial.
Yes. So
how
the
many
next
extinction
section,
level events happened? I'm not a historian.
there were, I think, about 4 or 5.
Well, the Wikipedia has quite a long list of
yes.
published end times prophecies.
No,
that
I mean
failed.
actual extinction in his.
He's talking about like Mesozoan extinction, the dinosaur extinction.
Okay.
These are big events.
Yeah, well, there were 6.
There
were 6 major ones and quite a few lesser ones. Where there were 6 global ones, and several that only affected a particular area.
Huh.
Yeah, so
that's closer to the end times than anything humanity has experienced in recent memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to ask you a question.
Weren't we supposed to be in some sort of ice age by now?
No, not yet.
Not for a couple hundred years, I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Gosh darn it. I was hoping to cash in on the end times.
Yeah, that's my question, because
invest in North African land. It's going to go up in price in about 800 years.
Every time she speaks, somebody else says something.
Yeah.
Guys,
and I'm waiting for.
We're obeying God's will here, Aaron.
Yes, thank you. So in our sect, like on the Shia sect, we have the signs of the end of the day. So we have the hour Dajjal. Do you have it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so the signs of Islam for Aaron, that the end of time is very near now, because we have these signs. First of all, the spread of homosexuality, and there is lots of earthquakes and environmental catastrophes. We have Al-Awar al-Dajjal, which is the one-eye con man, and people say that the telephone, the phones, the mobiles are the one-eye con man. And we have women in power.
He's basically
and women ruling. So these are all the signs that the end day is very soon. In Islam.
All right, so what you're saying is all we have to do is give Donald Trump an eye patch and...
No, we don't have to. There are like women in power. Homosexuality is being recognized and is being legal, which is very good, but not good to our end of humanity.
Before Islam existed, in the classical era, the Romans, lots of gay sex happened in there. So I'm not sure why the end times haven't happened yet.
Actually, and in Islam as well, one of the caliphs was very famous for that sort of thing, and he used to have boy and male concubines, and yeah, it was rampant in the Islamic world at some point as well.
Yeah, it's like
I know.
It's been a part of human history since humans have started writing history. It's not a new thing. It's just this patriotic religion based on a.
Still, all the Abrahamic religions are against it. So.
Yeah, it's like the Muslim, the Christian, and the Jews. It's just this belief that which doesn't make sense because it doesn't put any threat on people. It's just this rampant homophobia that going through those religious people.
But there is one thing, because if everyone is homosexual, how will babies come? It's the end of humanity.
Yeah, but not everyone is. That's the thing. It's not everyone is homosexual.
What are the numbers? Like what? 20-30%?
That's an alibi.
Yeah,
we are overpopulated. I think like 90% should be homosexual.
If I ever get a time machine, I'm traveling back to kill Abraham so I can finally have my harem of twinks and thigh highs without having fucking judgment.
But you have to kill Adam first. Please kill Adam.
No, Abraham started the religion. All right, twinks were okay back when the Romans.
But Adam gave birth to Abraham's descendants.
Yeah, but it would be a little bit difficult to kill Adam because
he never existed.
He's not real.
Whoever started.
So Aron, are you saying that Abraham is real now?
Well,
somebody
Abraham
started the
religion.
religion.
Possible. I mean, so some schizophrenic weirdo that all these religions are based on because of some raving lunatic, that's believable.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a council. It could be multiple people. I don't get it. As long as I get my harem, I don't care. Just somebody has to die here. I don't.
Somebody has to die.
Okay, just go back to tell God who created Adam, who created Abraham.
Yeah, that's too many steps back. That's too many steps back.
Let's look at the verses from 2 to 7.
All right, so on that day there will be downcast faces, toiling and weary as they enter the blazing fire and are forced to drink from a boiling spring with no food for them except bitter, dry thorns that neither nourish nor satisfy hunger.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about hell, or is it too depressing?
I mean, it's Valentine's Day, so everyone
is hot now.
Yeah, so I'm curious as to why people still need to eat or drink, and
it's just more
God is a petty bastard.
It's just more torture. You're gonna be hungry forever.
Yeah, and if your water is still in liquid form, and you're in a fire, wouldn't that be comparatively refreshing?
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
we did talk about it, Aron, in my latest broadcast. If something is of a higher temperature and you have even something a bit less still hot, it will actually end up being refreshing. So
yeah.
But there's gonna be food because ليس لهم طعام إلا من ضريع, which means like food with thorns and very bitter food.
Yeah,
well, why would you need food if you could have all the fat torn off your body and you could be boiled and burned and all of the shit that's happening to you, and that doesn't kill you? You could. How would you starve to death? I mean,
have you watched Soul?
Be starving.
How could you have an appetite? Oh, I'm being mangled right now, and I'm in a meat grinder. Gosh, I would like a sandwich.
Well, because God is a petty asshole here.
Yeah,
because after you burn and you become ashes, you'll be a phoenix and you'll be resurrected from the ashes. You have like half an hour. Just have an hour break. You have to eat or drink something before you are burned again. So.
Wow.
So all these people are being tortured.
To enjoy the burning.
Yeah, and then there's an air horn. And lunch.
I forgot which. There is a cartoon, one of those cartoons on TV, and they're like in hell, and they are having a break, basically, like a smoke break.
Yeah. In some other story, the Phoenix has 15 minutes break.
Yeah, it's like go back to work, get back to torture. That's exactly what's going. It's what it sounds like to me. It's someone just piling things that they think is bad. Okay, you're gonna be tortured in fire forever, and you'll be hungry, and it just piling up, and it doesn't make sense. That's exactly the problem. Is they're trying to make it worse and worse, but they are actually do not understand what they are doing.
But you know, a lot of these images are sorry, but they're borrowed from Revelation. There's a lot of plagiarization going on here with a bit of an Arabian twist, but it's very similar.
Correct.
And isn't it also borrowed from Dante's Inferno?
Yeah.
Mhm.
More
Well,
so even than Revelation.
Dante Inferno is after
Yeah,
It was written, yeah.
after the
came
Quran,
after
but
Muhammad.
there are Dante's Inferno is based on the I think it's the Apocrypha of Peter, which
Yes.
was an other ancient book that did not make it to the Bible. It was
Yes.
another gospel that didn't make it to the Bible. So could be one of those sects of Christianity that left the Roman and end up in Arabia, end up telling Muhammad the stories that they
actually,
got.
This reminds me of
this-
a very interesting story. You know the verse in the Quran that says, like, if you kill like one person, it's like you saved all of humanity, and if you killed all of
If you
humanity,
saved
if you save
Right.
one person, it's as if you saved all
Yeah.
of humanity. Yeah,
Yeah.
that verse is actually stolen from not the Torah. All right, you can't say it's like God copying himself. It's actually stolen from man-written Jewish tradition. So it's a book written by some Jewish guy. I don't know which one exactly.
Is it? I think it was Halil, Rabbi Halil, the guy of the golden rule.
Is it Talmud?
Yeah, something like that. But it's
I
not
think
like
it's
the
Rabbi
holy
Halil,
book.
yeah.
It's not the holy book.
I
It's just
thought-
some book from
I
Jewish
thought
Yeah, I
it
tradition.
think it's the
was
Talmud. Yeah.
I thought this verse was derived from Buddhism. I read something like it in the Buddhists. I thought so. I have to recheck it.
No, but it's like copied word for word from Jewish tradition. Like it is the same
Yeah.
the same verse.
That's the
The
thing
whole
about
Quran
all
is
those.
copied. Like we have the same things: alcohol, pork, women, everything. Like Jewish and Islam are so similar. Like the Old Testament and the Quran are so similar. It's freaky, and we really hate each other. I don't know why. We're the same.
Well-
Literally the same.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if Muhammad had something would plagiarize something, he's probably would have access to more Jewish literature than he would, or just Jewish priests and the like that would speak to him more than he would Christians,
Jewish,
because
at that
Christianity.
time, Jewish were everywhere. In the
Yeah.
whole area, there were Jews. So yeah,
They
you have
were
to take
mainly
the.
in Yemen, I believe, Yemen, south of Saudi Arabia. So they were very close, actually.
Yeah.
Not just in Yemen, they were in Arabia itself. But let's get back to the surah.
Let's get
Yeah.
back to the surah. Great idea. 8 to 16. Let's discuss heaven situation. I know. No alcohol, no free speech, no good. Oh,
No, you do get
There are
watch that.
alcohol.
Watch
We
that,
have
and you
alcohol.
better watch that carpet. That is carpet, and you can't mess it up.
Wait. وجوه يومئذ ناعمة لسعيها راضية في جنة عالية لا تسمع فيها لاغية. So you can't swear, but your face gets to be soft. So that's something. No more skincare products. You get like
I like that
water.
idea.
Running water. I mean, that's pretty rare nowadays, guys, right? Like you barely see that.
No, the verse that I don't understand. أكواب موضوعة. Like cups. What the fuck?
The
with
cups
with
are-
cups.
I mean,
Well, you need cups
It's
for the drink,
irrelevant.
right?
It's so irrelevant to have cups.
It also, by the way, implies that there is gravity because you can put things in cups and they won't float away, and you can put them down. So there is
Wow.
gravity in heaven.
More scientific proof.
Yes.
It's trying to sell this concept of heaven to what people of that time looked at and wanted. You have people in the desert. They wanted gardens because they didn't have gardens. They were fucking desert. They
But
wanted
they have cups.
and they wanted
And they have
wanted
pills.
running water.
yeah, but
And
with
they
the
have
common
pillows.
They
person,
had beds. and they wanted an already put down cups ready for you to use, and they have that namariq masfufa, is they already have the drink ready for you. So
no, namariq is pillows.
Yeah,
pillows.
pillows.
The pillows are already for you to sit down, and the cups are there ready for you to drink.
They had.
So
maybe somebody should read.
I know they had that, Diana. It's the fact that it's just trying to sell you, we have better thing than what you have. And when you're trying to sell it to the poor that doesn't have all this now, because we know in the beginning of Islam, a lot of the already become early Muslims are poor and slaves, people who did not have all of this. They were like, okay, you're going to be poor right now, but in the afterlife, which is the biggest lie everyone believes, that not everyone, but most people believe that there isn't a fucking afterlife, and they're gonna sell you this idea that there will be heaven and everything you wanted, you're gonna get.
So why didn't the Quran mention anything about free Wi-Fi?
No, that would be scientific proof, right?
They'll be so busy screwing.
Yeah, you don't need your internet when you're fucking around.
Free unlimited Wi-Fi.
They would have been so confused back then.
By the way, just one thing. My name is Diana.
Guys.
Not Diana. Diana is religion. I am Diana.
Diana.
Diana means religion. Diana means religion. Please.
Yes.
You know Arabic. So I'm Diana.
I've got another question. This is for A2 the Zizu. Asks, what happens to tattooed skin in heaven? My understanding is it doesn't go with you.
I can answer that.
It's
tattoo is haram. It is totally
haram. We'll go to heaven, to hell. So yeah, it will go with you and burn.
One thing is, God creates your body as it originally was. So if you're someone who is, for example, circumcised, he regrows the skin for whatever reason.
Isn't that every single Muslim in the world?
Yeah, but he regrows.
I mean, not all of them. Some people had parents who didn't hate them.
You know, in the
verse very clear. All the skin will be replaced exactly as they are, many times over, so they can taste the suffering forever. So we can assure you that the same tattoo will come back to you. Okay.
Well, what about heaven, though? What do you get to keep your tattoo?
Oh, I don't know. It's not mentioned. Mentioned in hell. I'm not too sure about heaven.
Because all tattoos, all people who make tattoo will go to hell.
What about women? If the man doesn't like the tattoo, does she get to keep it?
Oh yeah. By the way, in heaven you can have any wish you like to have. Even if you wish to have a children, it'll happen to you in 1 hour, and you can call it anything you like. That's what the verses of Hadith says. Okay, so you can have any wish you like.
Now we're off to the Hadith. Now, for the sake of argument, how big a tattoo needs to be before you go to hell with it?
I mean, it's not necessarily a condemnable offense. I would say it's just...
I don't know why it would be, but...
I mean, if it's... it has to be your other sins that bring you there with it. So.
I don't think the Quran speaks about the tattoos either way.
No. It's Hadith.
Not at all.
Again, this
not even Hadith.
I was taught that tattooing is haram in every sense of the word, that you cannot deface your body in any way, shape, or form.
Correct. That's what they have measurement, what they call the consensus, that they said, because you should not change any form that God gave you. So that's what they put it as sin, but not a major sin.
I can't see that in the time of Muhammad. Right. So circumcision is there, but what
and khitan for the girls.
I can't believe that tattoos were not well known at the time of Muhammad, and that there is literally nothing about it in the Quran.
Yeah, agreed.
So I don't know. I can't imagine that Muhammad, if he lived and existed, and his friends around him did not see a tattooed man or woman in their entire life. Therefore, it never came up.
Oh, no,
I think it just didn't came up.
Because the Vikings, some of the Asian cultures, very ancient ones, tattooing
Judaism made tattoos haram, so why not?
Yeah, but
So
where
they
is it in
definitely
the
knew about
Quran?
tattoos back then.
Yeah,
I mean,
where is that in the Quran? I mean, just we can put this question out and come back to it later.
I mean,
Maybe
it could have
somebody
been
answers
removed.
it for us.
I mean, this
I
book has
don't
been...
know the verse, the chapter and verse that I can quote that says, "Thou shalt not tattoo yourselves."
There's not
so-
a lot
the verse,
tattoo.
it could have been removed, or
There's
just...
an ayah verse that says لأمرنهم فليغيرنا خلق الله, and you can't change the God's creation in any way. And there are Muslim bin Sahih, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawood, Ahmad عن عبد الله bin Mas'ud, and they say لعن الله الواشمات والمستوشمات والنامصات والمتنمصات والمتفلجات الحسن المغيرات خلق الله.
I love how they're all women.
Yes, they are all women.
Yeah, but even the Quranic verse she's quoting is in feminine tense. So yes,
we are
no breast augmentation for you. No breast augmentation.
I don't need it. Believe me, I don't need it.
She's not allowed to have it. She's not allowed to have it.
I don't need it.
Okay, so there's something else to bring up. First of all, there was a question. This is from, I can't even pronounce that name. Diyavenhal. I have no idea. I would need to practice that. The question, what does the Quran say about the Maya culture, the civilization which had their peak when Islam was invented?
They didn't know about it.
We need to answer this question.
Never heard of it.
Yes, from the other end of the world.
Yeah. Remember, for the world in the Quran, the sun set in a muddy pit in the west, which is probably around the Seaway area. Okay.
Yeah. If you go further than that,
the rest of the world doesn't exist in this book.
So then we also got a super chat. Thank you, Dan, for $20.99 Canadian, and his says, "Aron and team, keep up the good work."
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I just love the idea that Diana is not allowed to have a butterfly on her shoulder, according to the Quran. But I'm allowed to have a dragon on my dome.
Not only that, we're not allowed to have an epilation, hair removal, and makeup, and everything. Like we can't have
any cosmic product that permanently changes the body, then it's gone.
So
that's why
that's
why a lot of people will say dyeing your hair, it's okay, but if you wanna dye your skin, it's not okay.
I thought
what about piercings? Do they count?
No, they are okay.
نامصات وتنمص متفلجات للحزن. I don't see anything about piercing.
No, it was okay.
It is still altering the body because you're punching a hole through your skin.
Yes, but here's the thing. This was common.
At least let me have piercing, guy. Let me have piercing. I have 70 piercings. At least I have this. Thank God.
No rights for you. No rights for you.
I have piercings.
Silence, woman. Your voice is angering God.
70 piercings?
17, not 70. 17.
17. I mean, don't you have
more than I want?
12 in my ears, so not that much.
I think the number of piercings starts to be a problem after 18, so you'll be fine.
I'm out of places. So
once it gets 18 plus, that's the problem there.
That's a fatwa right now.
Yes, that's the verse.
And
I've done my ijtihad here, and that's my fatwa. There you go.
Well, in that case, I guess I'm going to hell for more than one thing.
When it came to dyeing your hair color, isn't it like you're not supposed to dye it in its natural color because that's faking your age, but you can dye it another color, preferably red, because that's what the Sahabas did?
Yeah, apparently.
Wait a minute. You mean the Sahabas were redheads?
Yeah, even Ali, he had red hair. I mean, he dyed it red.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Oh,
think
really? The gingers.
Well, that's not gonna be my proudest wank. Excuse me, lads.
So let me guess this. I have two things that I did right. I pierced myself, which is not haram, and I dyed my hair red. Yes. So I have okay.
Yeah.
I have to change.
But
I
you're
have to
speaking
remove the
among
piercing.
men, so I'm sorry to tell you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I
I'll dye
think
it
Muhammad wanted to look a bit Scottish there.
Muhammad wanted to
I don't
a bit
know if
younger.
I don't know if it's Scottish or royal Jewish, because in the Bible or in the tradition, the Jewish tradition, the royal family were redheads too.
Curly red hair.
Oh, Aron, you were
So
going
all
to say
that's-
something about the
all-
Apocrypha of Peter? We interrupted
Oh,
you
yeah,
earlier.
the Apocrypha of Thomas. There's like just about the only words of wisdom that were ever attributed to Jesus. It's like two different passages that he said. One of them is in Thomas, where they asked him, his disciples asked him what he thought about circumcisions. And Jesus said, if God meant for us to be circumcised, we would be born without foreskins.
Good answer.
Wasn't Muhammad born without a foreskin? I'm not sure.
I didn't check. I don't know.
There's nothing that says that I've ever seen.
I heard something like that. I'm not sure.
Maybe
Now
we should ask one
I
of
need
his
to go and
wives.
look on the history of circumcision from Muhammad now.
You're gonna get yourself arrested, man.
Don't do it. 17, please. Anybody checked how the camels were created?
Wait,
Yes.
could you read
Didn't
the
think
verse first
so.
so we don't confuse the people
That's a
listening?
miracles of
How
Islam.
they were masterfully created.
But which type of camels? The one with the 2 humps or the 1 hump? You know, they're different.
Well, the
Oh,
one
3
you would
humps?
know about,
Yeah.
the one that the God of the Quran would know about, would not be the double-humped ones.
No, yeah.
Weren't
it's-
camels originally something that lived in cold places, but then
Yes.
emigrated?
Yeah.
I mean, we have
was
an
gonna say
evolutionary scientist right here. He can tell us how they were created.
they originated in Northern America and migrated similar to the same time that human beings were coming one way. The camels and horses were going the other way, cross the seas to Asia, and from there.
Oh shit! That's you're serious? That's actually true?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is actually true. And
Holy shit!
like the best.
Aron, enlighten us on the.
So if you want to know what the ancestor of camels looked like, look at llamas.
Yes.
Holy shit!
Cute.
Really?
Yeah, so llamas are related to camels, not very closely. There was a hybrid done, a Lulu Skidmore. I remember that name off the top of my head, but a decade or two ago, she managed to do an artificial insemination with some laboratory assistance to create a hybrid called Llama the Kama, which had a 120-pound mama llama and a 900-pound dromedary dad.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
I did not. Wow, that's insane.
That's a ring species. That would make it a ring species.
All the way from
it's
North
not- it's
America
not a
to the
ring
fucking
species.
desert.
Yeah, it's speciation happens when the animal will no longer interbreed. It's not whether they can or not, but there's physically and chemically they're not. Llamas and camels are too far distant. But with some artificial insemination, with some laboratory assistance, you can override the differences that have accumulated between the two. And so they are far more distantly related than humans are to chimpanzees or to other apes, for example. So if somebody had the lack of ethics, and a couple of people have reportedly tried this, there has no confirmations exist, but there are a number of rumors that people have done successful inseminations of humans with chimpanzee crosses, and just never let it come to fruition.
So this is where the story of the werewolf comes from. I know it.
I think that the werewolf comes from two different origins. One is that people used to dress up the Vargar that was the name of the motorcycle group that I used to ride with, Vargar. They would, the Vargar in the old days would dress up in wolf hides and take all these drugs and convince themselves that they had the abilities of wolves. And another thing that led to the werewolf thing is that the gestation period for rabies, remember, is 28 days, which is equal to the cycles of the moon. Now, what is the only time that you'd be wandering out in the wilderness in the middle of the night, like gathering firewood or whatever it is, was when it's bright enough to see, and that would be during a full moon. So it would be most likely the time that you would be out at night would be during a full moon. And if you encountered the lone wolf, the rabid wolf, the one that's not with the rest of the pack because it's lost his fucking mind, that would be the one that bites you on the full moon. And then 28 days later, you come down with the symptoms of rabies. And so that's where I think part of the werewolf came from.
You know, if you look up a shaved bear, he actually looks a lot like what people think werewolves look like. That might have something to do with it.
Where we ended up we were looking at the camels, guys.
Oh yeah, sorry. We answered the question, by the way. We just answered where camels came from, so Quran debunked, guys.
And we ended up with the wolves. So there you go.
Let's see the miracle of the Quran, guys, of Islam.
We've got another question. This one's specifically for Diana. This is from G Skeptic. Gave us £5. Thank you very much. Diana is in her element. Any chance of proposing to you? What about jewelry for men? Does the Quran say anything about it? Happy Valentine's Day, team.
Men can't wear gold or diamonds. Besides that,
I get proposed on Valentine's Day. I should tell my boyfriend. Yeah.
I think G Skeptic is just curious. I think G Skeptic is just curious about where those other 5 piercings are.
In my face, they're all in my face. And all the piercings are on my face. One in my lip, one in my belly button, and 16 in my face.
Okay,
that's it. Okay.
I'm sorry. You should probably fix your pronunciation to 16 in these sorts of situations. 16. 16.
And men are forbidden to wear jewelry.
As far as what I was told, men can only wear a single silver ring on one finger.
And
really depends on where you grow up. Different rules for different people.
I guess so.
Another name for a Muslim is hypocrite.
So Muslims are not allowed to wear like bracelets.
Men should wear only like silver ring. Even their marriage should be silver, and I think they might wear a very slim silver necklace, and it should be hidden because jewelry. This will tempt the girls. That's what really was taught to me from a shuyukha. If we wear gold, they will tempt us, the girls, and we will want to have sex with them. I have no idea why, but that's what they say.
What I heard is that
that's what my dad did with his wedding ring, because he couldn't put it upon himself to wear the ring because it's jewelry, so he put it in his keychain. So my dad's wedding ring is on the keychain to this day, because he doesn't want to wear it because it may or may not be haram, and it may or may not put him in some sort of torture. So he's not willing to wear the ring that my mom gave to him for wedding, because that's the reason.
No, and men can wear rings. They wear 5, 6 big, huge rings, which is very expensive stones.
Just what I was told is that
on the camel's birth again, guys. Just something that I've noticed here. Isn't it just weird that this message is supposed to be a universal, and it's the final message from God to the whole of humanity to the end of days, and it uses such a local language. All the examples of a certain environment, of certain things that people would just know in that little peninsula of Arabia, it's such a local language trying to masquerade as a universal message. It's very strange to me.
Wait, 8818 is a universal thing. Come on. Have you looked at the sky and how it was raised?
Very subtle, Bobby.
Oh, fair enough.
Very subtle. I know.
If I can add something, one more thing about the ring is, I was told that if a guy wears a gold ring, in when you're in hell later on, God will take the ring, heat it up, and then put it back on your finger.
Oh
yeah,
no!
gold is forbidden for men.
Yeah.
Look, what I was
Thank
told is
God.
the reason men can't
There's
wear
one
gold
thing
is because
forbidden on men is gold, wearing gold.
yeah,
Gold
Everything
and
is
silk.
forbidden for women except wearing gold. It's just for us, and you can't.
yeah,
So we have something.
Gold and silk is all yours.
yeah. You must be very happy.
Not really.
Okay, we're gonna.
You can have
Yeah,
multiple.
men can't
Number
wear silk either.
19 وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت. That's an
Yes.
important issue.
That's a problem though, because it uses this particular word, which is nosibat, right? And nosibat is, let me check here, 19. It's an interesting word, erect, like a trap or a tent.
Correct.
That's the word it's using here. So as if you are erecting the mountains, like you pull up a tent, right? And just pull the spokes down on the ground.
You're pinning it to the
Yeah, you're pinning the mountain to the ground and then lifting it up, and that's it, right? It's like a tent. It uses this, because he could have used other words to make the mountains Rawasian or whatever, but it goes like it says, well, it's Nusibet.
Yeah.
And it presumes that the mountain has been reassembled before. It's like intact, and
Right.
you just put it as it is. It hasn't actually accumulated over time.
Yeah, IKEA mountains.
You hear all these Muslims going around bringing up like the same 6 verses over and over again, saying, look, it's proven by science, but you never hear them bring up the 800,000 fucking verses that just are complete bullshit.
Yeah, that's an important point. There's cherry picking in these people, very much so. Talk about 10% of what's similar or somehow their interpretation, but the 80-90%, they never talk anything about it. This is one of them. You're right.
Yeah.
Aaron had a show about scientific things in the Quran, like recently, and the guy, a Muslim guy, was saying about this verse, because the other guy was saying it's scientifically not true, and he had a fucked up alibi, fucked up reason for it, because he said it was there and it takes generation, and he entered evolution. You have to watch the show. I watched it. I wanted to enter the screen and kill the guy, and he was talking about this verse with Aaron, and it's ridiculous.
I tried to watch that, but I found the guy extremely repulsive.
Yeah,
so
he's very annoying.
Yeah, I just closed it.
Yeah, he's annoying. He's fucked up.
Charles Darwin, on his way to the Galapagos, he discovered, all these mountains with seashells right on top of them, and later on we get to realize that a lot of these mountains were actually completely submerged underwater at some point.
Correct.
Yeah. See,
yeah. There is no erection for the mountain. That's for sure.
Yes. In Arabia, the western part of Arabia is more volcanic activity, and the rocks are there. Basically came from there. But if you go to the east side of Arabia, it used to be submerged, and you could go actually to the desert and find seashells and stuff like this in sand rocks. So not all mountains have been erected. Some of them have been, floated over time.
Yep. Okay, let's go to 8820, please.
Hold on. I've got a couple more questions to throw out there. John Doe asks, what does the Quran say about religious education / indoctrination of children?
Do it as early as possible.
Encourage.
The Quran is clear and does not confuse anything.
It's a must.
Yeah.
And then we have another question from an irreducible or irreductible athe. Okay. General question. Have you guys read the book called i.e. Quran des Historiens, Quran of Historians, wrote and supervised by Muhammad Ali Amir Moezi and Guyan Dai. I should have let you
Yes, I read it and I found it an absolute nonsense.
Okay. That at least is clear.
In what sense?
Okay.
What does this book discuss exactly?
Oh, it just gives you that, it shows you that Allah is so capable of doing a lot of things, and He comes up with so many things, like look at that, look at this. I mean, this is the general idea of it.
More circular arguments.
Yeah. But it's many books like that. It's many books like that.
Wait, there's one more question about tattoo removal, if you want to read it. Oh, wait, Aaron's gone.
Aron is gone.
So I could read the question for you.
No, wait until Aron reads it.
Oh, sure.
8820, we can discuss here for a second.
Oh yeah.
My comment
the Quran on this podcast? No,
my comment on 8820 is flat earthers rejoice. The Quran confirms you. Oops.
وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت, and how the ground is flattened.
Yep, I flattened it. Look at it. Hey.
But you know, devil's advocate here, they'll actually say to you, even though we know it's spheric and everything, but when you walk and whatever you do, you continuously have the illusion that you're walking on flat Earth. That's the magic of it. Even though it's spheric, when you actually walk, it will never feel that you're going sort of in circles. You're actually going straight on flat surface, and that's what most people sort of.
Wouldn't it be better to say, oh, look how big I made the Earth, that it looks flat to you, or oh, look how small you are compared to the universe I made, that this small planet looks big to it looks flat to you.
I'm tempted to include a link to a couple of Islamic apologists that I've seen arguing for a flat Earth. One of them, seemingly intelligent, but until he speaks, and he described that, if you're going to take an airplane from here to China or from Arabia to China, then why wouldn't the airplane just jump up in the air and wait for China to come to it?
That was talked about 10 years ago. Yeah.
Look, here's the thing about
I would advise them to go and study a little bit about gravity and the atmospheric Earth around. Aaron maybe throw a couple of things about this, and anything moves within 12 kilometers or more. It moves exactly where the Earth moves. Absolutely.
Aaron actually made a video about this a couple days back, so you can just go watch that.
So we got. Did somebody mention the super chat from Noxum Volpin here? £5. Thank you very much. Says I will match G Skeptic. And he says, I think that Diana has won over a few hearts during this session of love. Much appreciation to you all. Have a nice day.
There was a question before that, Aaron.
Yeah, because she was. That's how you win over an audience, by talking about your 16 piercings.
16. I didn't say 16. Oh my God, man will always be them.
I'm just wondering, boy, did God get it wrong? He adopts the voice of a woman as a donkey or bad, and look at Diana getting all the attention in the world.
Yeah, because men are men. Yeah.
God underestimated the power of simps.
Actually, they are proving
jealous.
God's word, because that's why we shouldn't speak, because men are men. Okay. Back to the verse.
There's another question before that, if you want to read
about
it.
The tattoo.
Yeah. Was there another? Did I miss a question?
Yeah, when you left.
Yes, there was.
Okay, so follow-up question, if that's okay. This A2 the Zizo, would tattoo removal requalify me for heaven?
Why do you want to go there?
Absolutely.
Here is the problem.
No, it's not. We can give a fatwa in this. We can give a fatwa. Every point he removed, he will take at least 70 rewards. Yes, why not?
But we have
You would
discovered
suffer just as much before you went to heaven.
We have just discovered that the tattoos are forbidden for girls, because I'm searching now. I haven't seen a single hadith, because it's not in the Quran, about men getting tattoos. Only about women getting tattoos, and we're going to hell.
Because
I wonder
guess
if
what?
that. I wonder if that's why they use henna instead of actual tattoos.
Even that is forbidden, because I have read it and I discovered that tattoos, the one filled with ink and the henna and the facial hair removal and fixing our teeth is all forbidden, and we shouldn't be like,
Did you say
if I have a
fixing
man.
his teeth?
Yes, it's also fixing my teeth. I've seen it in Hadith Bukhari, Hadith Sahih Bukhari. Even fixing our teeth is haram.
No bracelet.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And if I have a man, he should dump me and never. And if I have a husband, he should dump me.
The only
just
way
because I
to
fixed
prevent
my
a woman from going to hell is to just trap her in a hole.
Now, just to clarify, it's in a hadith that you
Yes,
can't
it's not
have.
in the Quran.
It's in the Quran.
No, not in the Quran.
No, not in the Quran. It's hadith, but yeah, for the sake of the argument here.
Going back to verse 20, I mean, putting the Muslims' hat on, when they say the earth, how it spreads out, they always talk about that particular place where you are in. So they say spread out as you see it. It's not as a whole. So this is the justification they put for anything to do with spread out. Okay, just to give them the benefit of what they have justified this as.
See, it would have been more clear.
And those people who live in the mountains would be like, duh, no, it's not flat.
See, it would have
they're
been
talking
more
about
clear.
the flat as a desert and the flat earth. They're not talking about the
They
mountains.
still had mountains.
Pure.
They had mountains in the desert, and this doesn't work. I mean,
I agree.
Yeah.
Justification is a patch up.
I know, and it's worse because if you look at where is Mecca, if you ever been to Mecca, it's a town in the middle surrounded by mountains. So how the fuck do you tell me it's flat when you are surrounded with mountains?
And
that's why they didn't believe him.
Well,
that's why they didn't believe him. They were like,
but remember, it's been argued the Quran was never written in Mecca. There are lots of theories that was actually came from around Jordan, Petra, and other areas, and it was actually brought to Mecca. Mecca was actually not a place at all.
Well, the theory is
I've
written
actually been
even
to
after.
Mecca 4 times.
The very strong theory is written after Muhammad, a few years, particularly at the Umayyads and the Abbasids, and that's more likely to see a lot of things like Al-Aqsa Mosque. There were never Al-Aqsa Mosque at the time of Muhammad. It was built 730 AD. So that's one thing that stands out very clear.
Yeah, I think it was Dan Gibson that wrote about that sort of thing.
Dan Gibson and Tom Holland wrote Under the Shadow of the Sword too, talking about that.
Yeah, I mentioned something about this before, about how we don't really know what happened in this time period, and a lot of it remains a mystery to us. Like I gave the example of the coin, a coin that was found in Jordan, I think.
Right.
And one side was inscribed had Muhammad written on it, and the other side had a man holding a cross.
That's why there is a lot of argument about the early Umayyad caliphs being Christian, not Muslims, or Islam did not exist at that time. It was just a sect of Christianity.
Carl,
we don't know, to be honest. The history that everybody you hear.
There was a guy.
The history that you hear about all this stuff. Oh, please go ahead.
Yeah, Carl, there was a guy in Mecca who begs to defer to what you just said, because he showed me all these, historical places with all these things and say, quote unquote, evidence of this is what happened then, and that, this is where Muhammad lived, this is where, he died, and all of that shit.
Sorry, not such a thing.
No, let me say something. The earliest artifact that they found in Mecca goes back to 800 AD, couple hundred years after Muhammad.
The history we know today comes from Islamic tradition.
Sorry.
Yeah,
let me
they
add a
only
point.
have the Islamic tradition about
Which I believe was Muhammad's cell phone.
Yeah.
We have another
Yes.
question here in the chat, and I'm kind of under attack at the moment.
Right.
Son of Iblis asks again a question: does Salman Rushdie's book have any legitimacy in terms of the claims written inside?
Yeah.
I never read
Yeah.
it.
No.
The satanic verses.
Salman
the
Rushdie
satanic-
book has no bearing on the Islamic issue whatsoever. It was a ridiculing as a matter of imagination. Whoever wrote the Semitic verses, he will see that there is no bearing whatsoever. He was ridiculing what happened to Gabriel and the rest. He basically accused Aisha and some of Muslim women as being prostitute. That is the issue of Salman Rushdie book, nothing else, mainly.
Salman Rushdie's book is a literary work, like it's a novel.
Yeah.
It uses these elements of the Quran and Islam and probably other religions as well to lay out the story and play it out in a slightly different and time-wrapped and skewed way. It's an interesting read, and I read it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, the whole hubbub about it is that it touched on these Islamic constructs in a way that was mostly irreverent, which is perfectly okay, especially in literature. But I guess it's got him a fatwa on his head.
But the main theme is still intact. Salman Rushdie was talking about, remember, there was a situation where Muhammad revealed some verses. And those verses were talking about that there could be other gods. And we're talking about the idols there, right?
Yes.
And then suddenly removed them again and said, sorry, these actually were not from Gabriel. These were from Satan. So this was an incident that happened in the Islamic sort of doctrine or conversations that was taking place. And Salman Rushdie built a story on the back of that, but the actual premise still intact and it's still true.
Well, there you are. Well, I beg to disagree. I totally disagree with the idea of ridiculing something unless you refute it. I mean, he managed to be successful in a way that he mentioned those things, which is really revoked Muslims in such a furious way with $20 million on his head. But there's nothing to do with refute or reference or anything to do with the Islamic religion itself. I mean, read the book, probably, if you could manage it. Read it. It's available.
I'm sure the rest of it is an imaginary, but I'm just talking about the actual premise because it holds a very dangerous idea. If Muhammad mistakes the angel of God, and it was actually Satan, how many other verses did he get wrong? It puts the whole thing, it casts
nobody knows
the whole thing.
Oh, I agree with you.
Yeah.
In fact, he apologized in a way for that. He said those verses. In fact, he mentioned even the goddess and some of the gods of the idol. I do agree with you. And he go back and he says this is only a whisper, an intention of the Satan, which wasn't really from God, and that's mentioned very clear in the Quran. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because then he says Satan can't touch him.
Yeah.
Well, apparently he was wrong again. Okay, Aron, I will ask you to read your notes on 21, 22, 23, if the kitten allows you.
This kitten is evil.
You guys want to hear something funny?
What's that?
We spent around an hour on a surah that is less than a page long. By discussing werewolves and Salman Rushdie.
Camels on a flat earth.
Yeah, what I said about werewolves, by the way, was my own hypothesis. I've never read that from anyone else. That's what I concluded myself. Okay,
and I told you about my shaved bear hypothesis, which I am almost certain is true. Look it up. I swear to God, they look like werewolves.
Which God?
Which verse did you want me to read?
21, 22, 23, please.
21, 20. Okay, so prophet, warn them. Your only task is to give warning. You are not there to control them. And then he goes on. As for those who turn away and disbelieve, God will inflict the greatest torment upon them. It is to us they will return, and then it is for us to call them to account.
Right.
Yes. Can you read your comments too?
Oh, my comments on this, and this, of course, is contradicted by Surah 9:5, which says the very opposite.
You got it 100% right. These three verses are abrogated by 9:5. Indeed. You're getting the hang of this.
9:5.
All right. Well, this was a bucket of shuffles, and I thought at least we had fun with this one.
Yeah. It's interesting how things become fun once we stop discussing the Quran.
So can I look forward to seeing all of y'all, or most of y'all at least, in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks from today, on the very last day of this month?
Sure.
Aaron, before we go, I got a couple of minutes of summary what we have learned from both surah. Can I say that?
Please.
Yeah. I mean, basically, every time we read the Quran and the surah, we see the objective. And then we know what the God of Islam or Muhammad has conveyed as a divine book. So there is 4 points, which is I summarized. I mean, usually I mention that in my books. First of all, both surah 80, 88 and 51 have almost zero of guidance or virtuous teachings, what we should have expected from a divine book, which is, we talk about total 85 verses. You hardly see anything to do with guidance. That's what's expected. A total of 10 muddled oaths sworn by Allah to assert with no evidence that he is the prime cause of many things that are purely natural phenomena and has nothing to do with supernatural deities or angels. Third, most of the verses are heavily focused on 4 things: propaganda and advertising for Allah and Muhammad. Second, threats of severe torture for infidels, and they mention the doomsday. Third, promises of imaginary incentives for believers. Fourth, the severe punishments that Allah had inflicted on previous nations, obviously those who denied his messengers. Now, as far as in chapter 51, verse 56, we have seen a major conflict where Allah says, I did not create jinn and humans except to worship me. And that cannot be reconciled with verses 97, chapter 3, that says, Allah is in need of no one. وَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَنِيٌّ عَنِ الْعَالَمِينَ. That's it. And then we see the last point, we see that the Quran making a mistake by saying, and of all things, which has been mentioned, there's as far as mates, not everything has mates. We do have a female or male without being a mate. And that he says, مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ, that is created 2 mates from everything. Known that few living things are not made of male and female. Right, that's the end of it.
Okay, very good, and thank you for that.
Nice summation.
Anybody else want to make any closing comments before we close out?
Yeah, I have nothing as profound as that to add to it, but I noticed a pattern in the arrangement of the way, the people with the screens are arranged. We just need somebody on top of Mubarak to make a cross.
Ah, neat. Oh, wait, no, we're making a giant T, which I guess there's a T in atheist. That's kind of neat.
It's T for the fuck we're reading?
Yeah, exactly.
T for tomboys. They're kind of cool, especially when they're redheads. Anyways, so please look up
Thank
shaved
God
bears.
this is coming to an end. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Please look up shaved bears and normalize twink harems with thigh highs. That's really all I have to say.
Okay. To each his own. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see see you in a couple of weeks. We'll do another one. I forgot to list down which source we're going to cover next time, but it's in the order of Revelation, and there will be a blog post about it in about a week. All right. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you.